Hi, I'm Dan Hegstead. Welcome to my vlog and podcast, Next Steps, Tools for Transforming from Coping to Thriving. This is all based on my book of the same title, and it's available on Amazon. The link is on my website, danhegstead.com, so you can order either the paperback or the Kindle e-reader or the audiobook read by me. And if you're looking for a good speaker, and if you can't find one, you might want to consider me. You can book me as a speaker. All that information is on my website, danhegstead.com. So this next series of episodes, starting with the last one, episode 10, this is 11, is a deeper dive into our brain and how it works and doesn't work. So I covered that pretty thoroughly in episode 2. So if you haven't watched that, go back and watch episode 1 and 2. You should watch all of them, but don't watch this until you've at least seen 2. This is 2 was a good overview, and this next 10, episodes 10 through I don't know how many are going to be a deeper dive into some of these things. And it's all in the book too. You could buy the book. So this one, in this episode, we're going to talk about media bias, how your brain takes in information from the media. And I make a few points here. I think it's important to remember that the media isn't a thing. Media is a plural. And the media is all the stuff out there, how you get information. And for people to say the media is biased, they should be saying the media are biased, but they don't. And they're just wrong. I mean, there are parts of the media that are, in fact, biased. You need to know that, and that's, to deny that simply isn't true. But we still have to get our information, and what you have to do is engage your higher brain and sort through the different options, and you get to decide. Okay, so you've got your base brain, which is that's where all information goes first, is through your base, your reptilian, your fear-based brain. A big part of your fear-based brain just keeps your body running. It's the part that runs your lungs and hearts and all that stuff and makes your stomach work and digest your food and all that. But it also takes in all information, and all it wants to do is keep you safe. It's all about keeping you alive long enough to procreate, and then you can die. But we have a higher brain that actually functions better. Your base brain kept you alive. Your higher functioning brain, you have to engage with intention. And that's where the media bias comes in, because our base brain wants, it's either true or it's false. And all it cares about is keeping you safe. It doesn't care what's real. It only errs on the side of caution. You need to know that. Now, there are people out there, and there are a lot of them, who exploit this base brain. And they know that if they can make you afraid, if they can make you angry, and if they can convince you that they have the answers you need, they control you. They have your vote, they have your money, and they have your loyalty. Am I being too extreme? I do not think so. Once you know this and you start seeing what's going on, you go, holy cow, they are ripping me off, they are lying to me, and that's not how we're living. That's the whole point of this book, is to think for yourself, live in reality, and be you. Well, you can't do that when you turn over everything, just leave it to your reptilian brain to make decisions. Once you engage your higher brain, which is challenging, because then you have to think and you have to make decisions, and you could make mistakes, and you'll feel bad about that. But that's okay. We're not afraid of that. We have tools to move from coping to thriving. And this is one of them, where we learn how to take in information from the various media, decide what may be realistic or what may be true or what matters to us, and make decisions based on that. Okay, I said if they can make you angry and or afraid, they have you. And the politicians know this. It's just disgusting what they say and lie to you just so you'll be afraid. And and then they have the answer. They have your vote. They have your contribution. It's just disgusting what they do. The preachers, they'll tell you what, and they'll just scare the bejeebers out of you because they have the answer. It's just, and some of them may. I don't know, but a lot of it just seems like nonsense to me. And I use nonsense as the most polite word I can think of. The advertisers. Most advertising tells you you're not happy enough. You could be happier. You could be better if only you'd buy this product. I mean, you need a new car. You're going to be happy. Your breath is bad. You need to buy this product. Now, that may be true, but truly, that is the underlying true message of most advertisers. Now you pay attention to it. It's basically you could be happier, and it's true, if you buy this product, which may or may not be true. But don't fall for it. Engage your higher brain. You have to do that with intention. You tell your lower brain, thank you. You've done a good job. I appreciate all you've done to keep us safe. But just relax. I'm going to engage my higher brain here. We're going to think this through, and we'll be okay. That's what we need to do. Okay, so the media. What is the media? I don't know. We talk about cable and internet and all that, and there are so many people out there that haven't. They don't care what's real or what isn't. You have to care what's real. And just because somebody's convincing doesn't mean they're right. And they may not be lying to you, but they may be wrong. There's a lot of that going on out there. But a lot of times, all they want you to do is be angry and are afraid. Watch, listen. That brings eyeballs. That brings advertisers money. And that is all they care about is money, money, money. And I don't think... I say there's a fine line between the realist and the cynic, and I don't think I'm crossing it here. I do believe that even though I may sound kind of extreme, I think there's a lot of truth in what I say. Engage higher brain. Learn how to take in this information. You need to know where the media come from. Now, that's a bigger picture too, because back in the day, media was newspapers, and for the most part, they just had your best interest in mind. And I think they generally still do. But there was also broadcast media, radio and television, and they used the public airwaves, and these are your airwaves. You own this medium, the broadcast channels and frequencies. You own that in the United States. And the deal is, okay, for-profit companies, we're going to let you use this, but you have to follow our rules. And the rules were you had to tell the truth, you had to be honest, you had to show both sides. And they did away with the fairness doctrine back, I think the Reagan administration did that. But now it doesn't matter so much anymore because what you call television, or, I don't even know if that many people listen to radio so much anymore, but a lot of it comes over the internet. That is not regulated. It may be the NBC station or it may be CNN or whatever. Doesn't matter. They can do or say really whatever they can get away with. And we're relying on their journalistic ethics. And sometimes they don't have any. But you can't say they all lie to you because that is absolutely not true. So be aware of that there is broadcast and then there is this internet-based. And they are very different, and they don't have to follow fairness rules, and they frequently don't. Now, having said that, my education is in journalism and media, and I worked for many years with public television, and we had journalists. Our station did a regular newscast. So we had young journalists right out of college, and some with master's degrees. These people are serious about telling you the truth. They really are. They are trained how to overlook their own biases. They're trained how to learn the whole story and tell it to you as best they can. There's training in that. I mean, they get trained just like, plumbers and electricians and truck drivers and everything else. There's a way you do it, and they know how to do it. Now, I also, in our newsroom, I posted the AP Associated Press ethics. And Jim Lehrer gave a speech one day, and he talked about his journalistic ethics. And he had, I think it was 10 points. I found that speech. I put it on paper, printed it up, stuck it up in the newsroom, and I hope that infects all those young journalists for the rest of their career. Jim Lehrer had, the highest of ethics, and it was pretty impressive. So we're going to get to the downside of this too, but I want you to know that by and large, these trained reporters are folks who have your best interest in mind and really try to do it right. Now, having said that, I think especially in television, there are editors and producers who want to get the most eyeballs, which brings in more money and makes them look good. So there is that, and they all mix together, and they all work together in the same studio. So there is some tension there. Now, I remember I was in Miami for a speaking gig a few years ago, and I'm watching the evening news, and the lead story on the news, if it bleeds, it leads, they say. The lead story was about a child who got hit by a city bus, and the story had this weepy music behind it. It made me want to puke, because this is not legitimate journalism. They're doing it just to sensationalize the story. So, did they tell the facts? Yes. Did they do it in a way that was manipulative? Yes, they did. But there is where you engage your higher brain. Jon Stewart is an amazing guy. He did The Daily Show and some other things, and he's an impressive individual. And he said something that I think is very important. Jon Stewart said the bias of the mainstream media is toward sensationalism, conflict, and laziness. Sensationalism, conflict, and laziness. Sensationalism and conflict because it's interesting. That's what all drama is conflict. Sensationalism because it's exciting. And laziness because it requires work to do it right. And they are frequently understaffed and overworked, and they've got tight deadlines, and they got to get it done. So that is their bias. They're not out to lie to you generally. So keep that in mind, but you still have to engage your higher brain when you're engaging media. Also, keep in mind that news outlets frequently have a news division and an opinion division. Newspapers have an editorial page. They'll have columns written by people who want to make you think. Well, they're not presenting it as this is the facts. They're presenting it as this is this person's opinion. Now, if they're an informed, knowledgeable, articulate person, that's worth reading. They're going to tell you what they think, and their opinion matters. A lot of people have opinions, and it doesn't matter. I love our PBS NewsHour. And every Friday, we've got David Brooks and Mr. Capehart, I can't remember his first name, and one leans right, one leans left, neither one's radical. They discuss things, and their opinion matters because it's their job to watch these things. And I agree with some things, and I don't agree with others, but it's okay. It's just great to listen to informed people who know what they're talking about, and it's their opinion. Get that right. Their opinion. News people present facts. Opinion people give you their opinion. You have to know the difference if you're going to be an intelligent consumer of media these days. Now, there's a whole bunch of them out there that are just lying to you, and they do not care anything about reality. They just want to get you to watch or listen or click or something, and it's you just have to reject those. Reject those. Now, if you go online, type in media bias chart, there is a company that has studied and rated these things, and they rate them as how accurate they are, how committed they are to the truth, and are they biased one way or the other, and if so, by how much? Take a look at that, and you'll find Associated Press at the top. You'll find National Public Radio, PBS, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and all those. And you'll find them at the top of the pyramid in that they're high fact, and they may lean a little bit, maybe a little more, I don't know. And then you get over, down and to the right or left, and you find there's just a whole bunch of nonsense. I'm being polite. Nonsense out there. So keep that in mind. Now, when I read online news, one of the ones I like going to is Huffington Post. And I know it leans left, and I can see that in their writing. Yet it's not radical, but I've engaged my higher brain, and I can just tell by the way they write some of these things that they lean a little left. Well, I can filter that. So just be aware of that. I like the way they present the stories, and they have many of them, and they're well written and so forth. So I like that. But it's good to have that media bias chart. You can go check out what news sources you like and find out that most of them are in the top and in roughly in the center, maybe a little this way or that. But for the most part, most of the media we consume are generally pretty spot on. Every year, the Popular Science magazine does awards for the worst reporting on science. And again, it's not the media wants to lie about it. They just don't do a good job of telling the truth, or they tell the truth and it doesn't matter. And the example I always cite is a few years ago, there were scientific reports that came out that this substance called resveratrol, I believe it is, it fights aging. And guess what? Resveratrol is found naturally in some wine. So the media picked this up, and it was all over the place. The drinking wine keeps you young. And it's absolute nonsense. Yes, it's true. Resveratrol is in wine, and resveratrol keeps you young. But if you were to drink enough wine for the resveratrol, the tiny amounts of it, to do any good, you'd be killed by the alcohol long before it did any good. They didn't say that. So that was one of the worst reporting on science that year. And it's very true. So as an intelligent consumer of media, you've engaged your higher brain. You have to say, so what? Or is this sensational? And just because a media outlet covers, they did the resveratrol, keeps you young, doesn't mean they're lying or wrong about anything else. You can't make an inference from that, but you do need to be skeptical. I heard years and years ago a speaker, I wish I could remember who she was, but she referred to herself as an open-minded skeptic. And I have taken that on, and I describe myself that way. I am an open-minded skeptic. I'm skeptic about a lot of things, but I have to be open-minded. You can't be totally skeptical or totally open-minded. It just doesn't work that way. Your base brain hates that. It wants you to pick one side and stick with it. It's not the way it works. So higher brain says, I'm open-minded, but I'm still kind of skeptical, And I think that's just the best attitude to take, being an open-minded skeptic. So there you go, some of my thoughts on consuming media. There's more in the book, and yes, you can buy it through my website, or if you're looking for a good speaker, check me out on my website, danhegstead.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching my vlog and podcast, Next Steps, Tools for Transforming from Coping to Thriving.